Welcome to the Huntington Way Show, where we help parents navigate the educational maze. Today's topic is Christian ministry through home education. I'm your host, Yvonne Strachan, author and founder of InspirationalHomeschooling.com. You're listening on Power Talk 1040 AM, 98.5 FM, and 95.7 FM. Please like and subscribe to Power Talk 1040 on YouTube. I'm speaking with Steve Craig. He is the Executive Director of the Christian Home Educators of Colorado, also known as CHEC. And we are talking about concerns that families have about raising and educating and ministering to their kids, and how state organizations like Christian Home Educators of Colorado help us preserve our values and rights. Welcome to the show, Steve.
Thank you, Yvonne. It's a delight to be with you today.
Oh, thank you for being here. I know you have so much valuable information for our listeners. So let's start out just sharing what the mission is for Christian Home Educators of Colorado.
Yeah, love to do that. Well, of course, we are a homeschool support organization, but even more than homeschooling, our vision for our ministry is really to help parents disciple their children. And I think that's really our vision. That's our goal. We're not really about just helping people do math at home. We're about helping parents disciple their kids about Jesus as they're doing math and everything else that they do. So our vision statement for our organization is we envision families honoring Jesus Christ by embracing home discipleship that is Christ centered, parent directed, and free from government control. And so we just view homeschooling as a wonderful context for discipling our kids.
It really is. And I've experienced that in my own homeschool, is just being
Yeah,
able to minister to their hearts. It
yeah,
really
certainly.
makes a difference, doesn't it?
It does. It does. In the day-to-day, messiness of life, it's not easy, but that's what life is about, is all of the wrinkles and the messiness and the spots and everything. And as we do daily life together, we really have unique opportunities to direct our kids to Christ.
Absolutely. You know, Christian Home Educators of Colorado, I've noticed, has been around since 1990.
Yes.
Yeah, they have expanded their service to homeschool families exponentially. Can you share how that has expanded and how you
Yeah.
help homeschool families today?
Yeah, certainly. We do a lot of training events for parents and for families, but focusing on parents, helping them kind of define a vision for education, a vision for their family, because that kind of ultimately needs to sort of drive these kind of big life choices that we make. Is what's your vision for your family? What do you believe about education? What are you trying to accomplish, right? And so events like our Rocky Mountain Homeschool Conference that's coming up in June. We do a lot of the practical stuff, but certainly a lot of it's focused on, just what is education, what is discipleship. So we do all of our events, but some of the interesting ways that we've expanded over the years is we have really gone online in a big way. And so we do online events for families actually around the world. Just a couple weeks ago, we wrapped up our latest online event, and we had over 21,000 signups from around the world for that event. So we're reaching homeschoolers not just in Colorado, but around the world. And through one of our other affiliate ministries, we also produce Christian curriculum for homeschool families. And so those are a couple of the ways that we have expanded in the last 5 to 10 years.
Yeah, that's amazing. So 21,000 families around the world.
Yes,
That is,
yeah, it's pretty exciting.
yeah.
It's fun to get the Facebook chats and the responses from families in the Netherlands and or in Kenya or places just where like homeschooling is illegal, right? And they're like, hey, there's no homeschoolers here. Here we can go to the Rocky Mountain homeschool conference and be around 5,000 other homeschoolers, right? But some of these other countries, they just have no exposure to the kind of community that homeschool community that we have access to here in the States.
Oh, well, that kind of makes me think, what kind of questions do you get from some of these other areas?
Well, a lot of it is just, thank you for this God-centered information that points us to what really matters because they're just not getting that, right? They're getting zero encouragement from their community. They're
Yeah.
getting zero encouragement, like it's illegal, right? And so to be inspired with, yes, this is a reason why we're doing something hard. I think that's the number one kind of more feedback that we get is, hey, this is refreshing to our souls because we believe this is important. We've chosen to do it, and it's so hard for them. They
Right.
have so little resources, so few resources, and so it's extra refreshing to them. So,
Um, yeah, absolutely.
yeah.
So does the Christian curriculum that you guys have there, does that get shipped then to some of these other areas?
So yes, we're working on our kind of international outreach, and Kevin Swanson, who's a director of Generations, which is
Mhm.
an affiliate ministry of CHEC, he takes curriculum to Africa and to various places where he goes. Tries to pack as much with him as he can.
Oh.
And so we do have a heart and a vision for the international community. How do we get this product to them? How do we get it to them online? And so that is an emphasis of what we're working on.
Mhm. That is really neat. Speaking of vision, I'm thinking about, what you had said about having a vision for your own homeschool and how important that is. Can you expand on that?
Yeah, I think every family needs to have, a why for what they're doing. And oftentimes that why changes over time, and that's normal and that's fine.
Yeah.
Many times the reason why parents choose to start homeschooling in year one isn't the reason why they're continuing to homeschool in year 15 or 20, or how many years have you been homeschooling?
Over 14.
14. Okay.
Yeah.
So your why has probably changed over time to some degree.
Absolutely.
And so, but we think that that why is really important, especially because it provides an anchor for something that's not easy. Now, we believe anybody can homeschool, but we don't go around saying, "Hey, homeschooling is just a walk in the park." Like, it takes real effort, it takes blood, sweat, and tears. It takes a good why to persevere,
It,
over a decade. And so we really want to help families think about, what is your why? What does God want for us as parents? What does He envision for education and discipleship of our children? And then how do we take that kind of biblical viewpoint on as parents? And how does that affect the education choices that we make for our children?
it really does affect those choices. And I think about some of my older kids. I have a 21-year-old and one that's about ready to graduate, and just looking at their hearts and how they view the world
Yeah.
and the decisions that they make are just, they blow me away.
Yeah.
And I think homeschooling and having that solid foundation in
Hmm.
Jesus Christ has been a huge part of
Yeah.
that. And I'm sure you're seeing that in your homeschool as well.
Yeah, absolutely. By God's grace, ultimately it's His Spirit that does the work in us and in our children. Um, but we also believe that He has a call on parents and a role for parents to fulfill in certain things that He's told parents to do. For example, Deuteronomy 6:7, that says, "These things you shall, speak. You shall teach your children as you sit in your house and as you walk by the way, as you, rise up and lie down." And so God wants us to be incorporating His word into all aspects of our life. And so we have to figure out as parents, well, how do we do that? How do we make this discipleship training program that He's given to us sort of this walk along, talk along, organic way of discipling them? That's really the bigger question. Then how am I educating my child? How am I discipling my child? That's the bigger question.
That really is a good question.
Yeah.
We're going to delve deeper into this in the next session. Thank you for sharing about Christian Home Educators of Colorado. You are listening on Power Talk 1040 AM, 98.5 FM, and 95.7 FM. Please like and subscribe to YouTube. Welcome back to the Huntington Way Show. You're listening on Power Talk 1040 AM, 98.5 FM, and 95.7 FM. Please like and subscribe to Power Talk 1040 on YouTube. I am here talking with Steve Craig, the Executive Director of Christian Home Educators of Colorado, and we're going to delve deeper into his experiences homeschooling and how that affected his homeschool journey as him and his wife teach his children. So, Steve, you and Tara were both
Yes,
homeschooled.
that's right.
Yeah, and I imagine that has a big impact on how you homeschool your children and your hearts for homeschooling.
Yeah, it certainly does. It's something I'm very, very grateful for, to have been homeschooled all the way through high school. I have all my siblings were as well. I think my oldest sister was in maybe private school, like kindergarten or something like that, but pretty much all the way through, and my wife as well. So, yeah, my God gave that vision to, our parents early on, kind of in the very sort of infancy of the modern homeschool movement here in the States. And so it's a joy to be walking kind of in those footsteps. And I think, you know, I always thought I would homeschool my children, and I think that's somehow because I understood sort of at a very young age, like why I was being homeschooled, um, and so it never was really something that I questioned or was confused about. Why wasn't I doing what other kids were? It was like, well, of course this makes sense, and I'm in a homeschool. I don't even remember like being given a speech about it, but I think it was a way of life and that we sort of understood.
Mhm. Yeah, so that kind of makes me think that it is important to share our whys with our kids
Hmm.
and help them to know, why they are being homeschooled so they don't question and maybe they'll work harder
Yeah,
and have more of a vision too
yeah.
because they feel like they're more in line with you.
Yeah. I think
Yeah.
one other thing too that's really important about homeschooling, and as I look back at my own homeschool experience, probably like the number one thing that I would like say to families, is really prioritize relationships. I think that like when you decide to homeschool and it's not like homeschool families are home 24/7 literally, but it feels a little bit like that sometimes, right?
Sometimes.
And so and sometimes you are home
Yeah.
24/7, right? And so, you know, it's a bummer to be home 24/7 with people that you don't like and don't get along with.
Yeah.
Uh, which means that, and now we're all sinners. Of course, we're all not going to get along. We certainly didn't get along in our family all the time. But my parents really did prioritize, you know, um, relationships in the home, making the home a positive environment where we wanted to be. It was like our favorite people to be with. We had lots of friends,
Yeah.
but like being home and doing stuff with our family was something we loved to do. And so I think there's sort of that, when you have strong relationships in the family, there's sort of this magnetism towards, the vision of the parents. Um, I think to some degree, relationship is what like makes a worldview or a direction in life stick to people because you can try to, teach your kids all day long, do this or don't do that. But if you don't get along and no one likes each other, you know, they're not going to probably respect that, right?
Yeah.
So if we want to sort of set out a positive direction and vision for our kids and we want them to follow after us, then we need to prioritize relationships. That means there needs to be a lot of, you know, asking forgiveness, not just siblings doing that, but like parents doing that. Hey, I was wrong. I was angry at you, and just a culture of, asking forgiveness, giving forgiveness, enjoying one another, having fun as a family, doing awesome things together as a family. And I think that goes a long way to like, creating this desire in kids to do the same thing, that they experience because it was great.
Yeah, that's so true. And I'm just thinking about what you were saying about, parents also um, saying, hey, I need some forgiveness too, and
Yeah.
really just humbling ourselves. And I think that really goes a long way. I feel like as a parent, we grow so much
Yes.
and
Yes.
we are humbled so much
Right.
by
Right.
our children. I
Right.
think, just it just brings me to the thought that, God really designs families, and I'm just thankful for each one and how that,
Yeah.
fits in. So,
And it speaks to, one of the reasons why people say, "Oh, I could never homeschool," is like, my I could never be with my child that long. Like I would end up, you know, I don't know what I would do to them, but we both wouldn't survive,
Yeah.
and I think there's this like, hey, we need to sort of have this distance because we know that our sin would interact in a way that would be unhealthy. But this is an opportunity for the gospel to work in our home, you
Yeah.
know, and to change us as parents. I
Yeah.
mean, even more so than our kids. God wants to use these relationships to change us as parents. Isn't that an exciting thing? And isn't that a sad thing if we think I can't interact with my children because I don't believe God can use me and can change me in such a way that this can actually work? Well, God has made you to be their parent, right? And so even though you're not perfect, he can use this relationship. He can use homeschooling. He can use all of that to change you, to humble you, yes, because we're all fallen, but also to sanctify you. And so it's just it's an amazing opportunity, not only for education, but just personal growth, spiritual growth. And I think about like the first thing that happened when sin entered the world back in the garden is that a relationship was immediately broken. I mean, first of all with God,
Hmm.
but then, within one generation, you have, Cain killing his brother. And that's what sin does. It makes us separate relationship. It makes us want to go into our own bedrooms and our own spaces, right? Our own safe spaces.
Right.
But God, the gospel wants to restore that. And homeschooling is a context where the gospel can restore relationships from parents and children and parents to parents. So,
Oh, yeah. That is so incredibly powerful what you just shared right there.
yeah.
You know, I, when I'm consulting with homeschool families, and I consult with so many each year, that's just one of the common threads is, oh, especially those new homeschool families. They're like, I did not realize that homeschooling could be so relationship building.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it's just, like they're almost mind boggled. Like, I
Yeah.
can't believe this.
Yeah.
And it's just amazing.
Yeah.
So, yeah, for sure. So, I'm just going to circle back around because we were talking about Christian home educators of Colorado and how they've served the homeschooling community more exponentially over the years. And so I know that CHEC monitors legislative issues
Yes.
and supports and defends the rights of Christian homeschoolers. Can you share a little bit about that?
Yeah. So we do a lot on sort of the homeschool freedom, parental rights advocacy. We have a director of government relations, Carolyn Martin, who is at the Capitol frequently during the legislative session and really monitoring all bills that would affect, homeschool freedom, parental rights. So that's been a big area of focus and growth.
Yeah, that's amazing. And I'm hoping to have Carolyn here and to help her get some word out
Yeah.
and share about
She's got a
legislation with
lot
the
of really
homeschool.
important information to share.
Yeah, that's going to be great. So also, CHEC has other things that they do that I
Yeah.
think maybe you can share on too that
Yeah,
you
I would
haven't
say
shared
that
yet.
the two other categories of our main areas of focus are events, training events, and family events. So events like the Rocky Mountain Homeschool Conference or our intro seminars, high school and beyond seminars. Those are some of our training events. We do a father-son retreat, women's refresh encouragement day. Um, we do homeschool graduation and a variety. Homeschool day at the Capitol, which was just recently. So those are some of our events that we do. And then one of the other ways that we serve homeschoolers in Colorado is through the CHEC Independent School, which is an umbrella school for homeschool families in Colorado. It's one of the ways you can kind of take care of your legal compliance is by enrolling in an umbrella school.
Yeah, and that is also just such a great way to serve the community. So, where can listeners find out more about Christian Home Educators of
Yeah,
Colorado?
well, super easy. It's chec.org, CHEC.org. And there's lots of information on our website. Of course, you can always call our office. We have an office that's open by phone 5 days a week, 10 to 5. So you have any homeschool question, feel free to call us. We are happy to help. But our website and by phone are the best places to reach us.
Wow, I am just so thankful for organizations like the Christian Home Educators of Colorado. And there are organizations like this in just about every state.
Yep.
And so if you live in another state, please reach out to your state organization. Thank you, Steve, for providing our listeners with insight into the importance of ministering to our children and upholding parental rights. This is Yvonne Strachan, today's host on the Huntington Way Show, where we support you in educating your kids. Please tune in at 10:40 a.m., 98.5 FM, 95.7 FM, and like and subscribe to Power Talk 1040 on YouTube.